I'd love to, but I don't have enough time. That is one of the biggest lies that we tell ourselves. The truth is, we are born rich and we die poor. When we say, I don't have enough time, what we are really saying is, I choose something else. This isn't important enough for me to spend my time doing it. So these are 8 tiny habits so you can have more time back for the things that matter. The Titanic rule. So in the movie, The Titanic, which I've never actually seen all the way through, please don't judge me. It's on my list.
It's on my list.
There's this scene where this rich guy tries to pay his way off, and there's an amazing line that follows.
Your money can't save you any more than it could save me.
In the end, time is the most valuable resource that we have, but we don't really treat it that way. In fact, a lot of us spend time in the dumbest ways. I'm talking about me too, like I've done this. When a new store opens, people will literally sit outside for hours waiting in line to be one of the first people in. Like 3 days later, or not even wait in line at all, and get 24 hours of their life back, which if they're earning $20 an hour would be like $480. So would you spend $480 to wait in line for this one sandwich? Nobody would actually make that trade, and yet people don't value their time at all and they're willing to do that. Same thing with going out of your way to maybe get better ice cream or a better pizza. If you drive an hour for a 9 out of 10 pizza when there's an 8 out of 10 pizza at your house, is that one difference worth an hour there, an hour back waiting in line? And for some people it is 100% worth it if you're a food person or whatever, but for me, it's just not worth it at all. And while this does apply to a lot of areas of our life, it's important to remember that our time is valuable, and we shouldn't just value it when we're at work, we should value it in our leisure time as well. Sleep less. Now before you start commenting, Gabe, I watch Anders Huberman and he says that sleep is very important. Actually, not a ton of Scottish people watch my stuff, but one of the only accents I can do. So I'm not actually talking about cutting down the time you spend sleeping, but the time on either end of that. Like, how much time do you spend in bed before you actually go to sleep? How much time are you spending on your phone? How much time are you spending reading, watching TV? Are you getting up in the middle of the night? When you wake up in the morning, are you smashing the snooze button? Are you getting on your phone right away? This is all time that we count as sleeping. So if you say that you need to sleep 8 hours a night, you might actually only be sleeping 6 or 7 hours a night, and the rest of the time is kind of wasted with these other activities. And for a really long time, I used to think that I just took a really long time to fall asleep. I counted all this time as necessary. I need to wind down and all this random stuff. But it turns out I was kind of lying to myself, and I actually mentioned a lot of this in my weekly newsletter this week, so don't forget to sign up. But of like just different things that you can do to help you fall asleep a lot faster. Things like turning off all screens an hour before bed, getting your circadian rhythm realigned, having consistent wake up times. For me, not drinking water like an hour before bed because otherwise I wake up in the middle of the night. Even my diet affects how I sleep. So there's a bunch of things that go into this, and if you can really dial this down and take sleep seriously, you can get back like an hour a day that you're just wasting on either end of waking up and going to bed. So you're not actually sleeping less, you're just being a lot more efficient with something that you're doing every single day. And another thing that you can do every single day is subscribe to this channel. Actually, you can only do it once, but it's really cool feeling when you click the button and it changes color. So don't forget to do it. It's free. Just give up. So there are 2 main ways that we can do this. One being with your work. Is there anything that you can do with your job to delegate, to give it to somebody else so that you don't have to do this and you can actually get back some of your time? This is something that took me a really long time to let go control over some of the things that I do, but as I've done that, I've freed up an insane amount of time in my life to kind of get back and do things that are more important. And the other way would be delegating some of your personal responsibilities. It's kind of like pay to play or buying back some free time. For us, occasionally we'll have groceries delivered. If it costs like $5 to have groceries delivered and it saves us 45 minutes, we're pretty much buying 45 minutes back of our time with $5. So it's like $7 an hour. Would you buy back an hour of your life for $7? Absolutely. I've done this with car detailing, where instead of taking a couple hours and detailing the car myself, like once a year, I'll pay somebody to come to our house and detail our car, and I'll take that time and I'll spend it hanging out with Laura, working, exercising, or going for a walk, doing something enjoyable instead of something I don't even like doing. Think about your commute. If you're 10 minutes further from work and you have to drive there every work day, so that's 20 minutes a day, after a year, that's over 3 days that you could have saved just being 10 minutes closer to work. And if you zoom that out over 20 years, that's an extra 72 days of your life, over 2 months of your life that you could have saved by being just 10 minutes closer to work. And some people drive half an hour to work, drive an hour to work. That's an insane amount of your life that you're giving up on top of already working 8 hours a day. So this is something we should absolutely consider when picking where to live. Can you be 5 minutes from your work, even if it's not as nice of a place, because you're buying back months of your life over the long term? It's something to really consider. Or on the flip side of that, can you pick a career that you can work from home or that is extremely close to the home that you already have now, even if it doesn't pay as much, because again, that's saving you an insane amount of your life. Task efficiency. So while I haven't gotten to the point financially where I want to outsource my lawn, what I have done is bought a new riding mower. I mean, it was on Facebook Marketplace, it wasn't actually new. Don't worry, I'm still being frugal about this. But if I do my lawn with a push mower, let's say it takes an hour and a half to 2 hours. But if I do the exact same thing with this riding mower, it takes me about 45 minutes. So if I do this 20 times a year, that's gonna save me about 20 hours per year. And if I value my time, which we should be valuing our time at, let's say $60 an hour, that's saving me $1,200 a year by getting this mower. So it pays for itself in like the first year. And if I scale out over 5 years, it's gonna save me about $6,000 worth of time by getting a more efficient mower. But we can be more efficient in almost everything that we do with our dishwashing, how we take a shower, our morning routines, even like laying out clothes the night before so you don't have to think about it the next day. What are ways that we can save 5 minutes here and there that will add up to hours over the course of a week? Minimize your career. We need to understand the time commitment of jobs before we pursue them or before we try to get a promotion. Like an example would be, I used to be a real estate agent, and the more successful I got at being a real estate agent, it meant the more nights and weekends that I worked, because that's when people can see houses, is generally nights and weekends. You also have to answer the phone all the time, so you're always on call. And every Sunday after church, we all go to my parents for like dinner and to hang out and stuff. And I would lose that because that's generally when you have to show houses, have open houses, all that stuff, just be on the phone. So the more successful I got at that, the less time I would have to spend with my family. For some people, it might be perfect for them and their family, but for me, it was just bad. So we have to really think about our careers and make sure that they align with how we want to actually live our lives, because our lives are not our careers, it's outside of that. So maybe before going for a promotion that, yes, might pay better, but you're gonna have to work an extra 5 or 10 hours a week, we might think of, does that align with our values? Do we want to get the more raise? Do we want to be on call constantly? Do we want more responsibilities, more stress, just to have a bigger office, a bigger box to live in, a nicer car? Is that trade worth it? Or should we be okay with something that has a lot more flexibility and maybe pays a little less, but we enjoy the rest of our lives more? It is kind of a big thing, but it's just something to really consider. Turn off, hold on, your notifications. So the average person spends about 2.5 hours on social media every single day, and then there's more time spent on the rest of your phone, and then there's TV and everything else. So something that I did is turn on focus mode so that I don't receive any phone calls from 6 a.m. to 5 p.m. I've actually gotten a little more extreme where I just don't really receive phone calls unless you're like one of the 10 people who are allowed to call me. The rest just goes instantly to voicemail, and then my voicemail says, if it's important, text me, because I will not call you back. And that really just weeded out all the spam calls that I used to get. When I do actually have social media on my phone, I turn off all notifications, and this allows me to really get distracted less. I can focus on something without getting pulled out of it because I got a notification or somebody texted me or called me or liked my picture on Instagram. Cutting all that stuff out can save you an insane amount of time staring at a screen that you can spend pursuing your dreams or the things that you don't have time for. If nobody has time and yet they have 2.5 hours to spend on social media, you got time, you're just spending it the wrong way. Fill the gaps. This is my personal favorite rule that I really enjoyed. I actually wrote 2 points of this video while I was getting an oil change, which actually led to me writing down this one, because we have these gaps, these 5-minute, 2-minute, 10-minute, half an hour gaps throughout our day while we're waiting in line, while we're on the toilet, while we're getting an oil change, while the pasta is boiling, that we can be doing stuff. We can write a page of that book. We can write part of a script. We can edit a little bit. We can do whatever that is, whatever you don't have time for, but you really want to do. We have these little 5-minute, 10-minute, half an hour gaps throughout the day that we can fill with pursuing our passions, with learning, with doing whatever you've been holding off doing. I've been getting so much done during those little gaps that it's been like life-changing for me. So I would highly recommend doing that. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to subscribe. It is totally free, and I'll see you next week.